Monday of the 30th week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, we are not debtors to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For those who are led by the Spirit of God are sons of God. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you received a spirit of adoption, through which we cry, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if only we suffer with him, so that we may also be glorified with him. The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, Our God is the God of salvation. God arises, his enemies are scattered, and those who hate him flee before him. But the just rejoice and exult before God. They are glad and rejoice. Our God is the God of salvation. The Father of orphans and the defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling. God gives a home to the forsaken. He leads forth prisoners to prosperity. Our God is the God of salvation. Blessed day by day be the Lord, who bears our burdens, God who is our salvation. God is a saving God for us. The Lord, my Lord, controls the passageways of death. Our God is the God of salvation.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus was teaching in a synagogue on the Sabbath, and a woman was there who for 18 years had been crippled by a spirit. She was bent over, completely incapable of standing erect. When Jesus saw her, he called to her and said, "Woman, you are set free of your infirmity." He laid his hands on her, and she at once stood up straight and glorified God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant that Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, said to the crowd in reply, "There are 6 days when work should be done. Come on those days to be cured, not on the Sabbath day." The Lord said to him in reply, "Hypocrites! Does not each one of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his ass from the manger and lead it out for watering? This daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound for 18 years now, ought she not to have been set free on the Sabbath day from this bondage?" When he said this, all his adversaries were humiliated, and the whole crowd rejoiced at all the splendid deeds done by him. The Gospel of the Lord.
The first reading comes from Romans 8:12-17. Paul continues the idea that we should live in a spiritual way, living in the Spirit. If we live in an unspiritual way, we'll be living a life of death, because we'll be concerned only with ourselves, we'll be selfish, egoistic. If we live in a spiritual way, then we're listening to the Spirit of God who resides in our heart. And what does that Spirit of God teach us about God? That God is Abba. Remember, Abba is a very intimate word for God, meaning Daddy. The Spirit who resides in our heart instructs us who God is. A simple example of that: if Jesus were to sit next to you, what would you want him to whisper in your ear? "I love you, I forgive you, I can't think of living eternity without you." Where did those thoughts come from? We didn't invent them, because if we invented God in our own image, that God would be vindictive, judgmental. Where did those thoughts of love come from? They are the voice of the Holy Spirit teaching us who God is, because God is the answer to our deepest aspiration, because it's the Holy Spirit who placed that aspiration in our hearts. And so the Spirit bears witness that we're children of God. Now, we're already children of God. What's in store for us when we get to heaven? This teaches us the incredible dignity to which God calls us. And that's all the more reason we shouldn't sin. Because if we're called to this incredibly wonderful dignity, why would we want to trash ourselves by choosing what's effectively garbage. That's sin. That's selfishness. The Gospel's from Luke 13:10-17. And it's typical of Luke's Gospel because it speaks about a woman being ill. Luke has a lot of examples of women in his Gospel, and it also speaks about compassion being more important than keeping the law. This woman has been crippled for 18 years. She's in the synagogue on the Sabbath, and Jesus heals her. Now, technically, that's sinful because you could only heal somebody on the Sabbath if they were at the point of death. This woman isn't. She's been suffering for 18 years. Why not wait another day? But Jesus' attitude towards her, she's been suffering for 18 years. I won't make her wait another moment. And so he in fact heals her. And the authorities in the synagogue are very angry. And in fact, they say, you have 6 days to heal. Why would you heal on the Sabbath? And Jesus accuses them of hypocrisy. You feed your oxes and donkeys on the Sabbath, take them out for watering. If you're going to take care of animals, why shouldn't you take care of this daughter of Abraham? So it shows again that incredible dignity with which Jesus treats people. He doesn't treat them as cases, as patients. He treats them as individuals who need his love. And the healing of this woman is simply an expression of that love, embracing her in the mercy and compassion that is God. And may God bless us.